Comes at the end of round number 9 as referee Kenny Chevalier, following the urging of the challenger's corner, calls a halt to the bout. The winner by TKO victory, and still the WBO Super Featherweight Champion of the World, Vasyl Lomachenko.
We're going to listen to his post-fight interview. I mean, did we expect anything else differently?
All right, let's take a look at final punch stat numbers, and you will see how one-sided they are. As Lomachenko lands 207 more punches, throws 410 more punches, lands 40% of his punches overall, which is remarkable in and of itself. How about the power punch numbers? 204 out of 351. 58% of his power punches. He could have done that all night, by the way. If we were in round 15, he would be landing 60% of his power punches.
Let me cut this off. We're gonna listen to the post-fight interview. You know, shout out to Jason Sosa for taking the fight, because he dropped his belt to take the fight, because basically, Corrales is the WBA Super World Champion, and you can't unify when you're a world champion. So, we found out this week, or, you know, from Jim Lampley, that the reason why Sosa didn't take the Corrales somewhat unification of those consolidation of those WBA titles was because he didn't want to have to fight in Panama against a Panamanian fighter. So he took the fight. Not only did he drop his belt, but he took the fight against Vasyl Lomachenko, which was probably, let's cut the BS, it probably was more money. Let's listen to the post-fight interview, and we want to hear what Lomachenko has to say, and then we're going to talk about what needs to be next.
Who out there, we can talk about this fight quickly. I don't know how much there is to say. How did you do what you did?
Я вышел в ринг сделать свою работу, я вышел показать высокотехнологичный бокс, я старался это сделать, я пытался сделать так, чтобы понравилось всем людям, которые находятся здесь в зале и смотрят телеканал HBO.
I came into the ring to do my job. I wanted to show everybody the high tech, and I think I pleased everybody. I wanted to please all the audience, all the fans that came tonight, and I think I did my job really well.
Speaking of that, for the first time since you've been fighting in the United States, you see a large crowd and a growing crowd come out to support you. Why do you think you're starting to connect with fight fans here? A lot of them seem to be Ukrainian, but why do you think you're connecting with fight fans at this point?
Я не знаю, не могу ответить. Может быть, им просто нравится то, что я делаю в ринге, а может быть, я просто симпатичный парень.
It's hard for me to say. Maybe they like what I do in the ring, but maybe I'm just a good-looking guy.
Ringside, we're at a loss to compare you to someone. We brought up Willie Pep and Pernell Whitaker, and we've never seen someone quite like you. Do you model your style after any of the past greats? And who?
Нет, это стиль, наверное, Ломаченко-старшего, это он меня научил. Спасибо ему.
No, I modeled my style after my father. This is Lomachenko's senior style.
Okay. Nicholas Walters, Gary Russell Jr., they weren't able to really compete with you. Sosa was not able to compete. He gave it his best, but it was lopsided. Who out there that you see do you think will make a good fight with you?
Я думаю, что после этого боя я вернусь домой, немного отдохну. После этого мы, наверное, приступим к переговорам с чемпионами 130. Если мы там не договоримся, мы пойдем вверх 135. Ждите.
I'm going to come back home, I'm going to get some rest, and then after that we're going to start negotiations with all the champions at 130. If we can't get anybody, we can move to 135, and we're going to do damage out there. Don't sleep.
The name at 135 everyone's interested in is Mikey Garcia. What do you think about that?
Я тоже хочу этого боя, это очень интересный бой. И этот бой войдет в историю, это то, чего я хочу.
I want to see that fight too. And this is the fight that will make history. I want to make this fight right away.
Quickly, Orlando Salido has the win against you. As a professional, do you hold out hope that you can get him back in the ring for a rematch?
Да ладно, это было, знаете как, тогда был бой трехклассника с 11-классником. Сегодня я уже в университете, я его приглашаю в свой университет.
You know, back in the day, it was like a 3rd grader fighting a 12th grader. Right now, I'm graduated from the university, and I want to invite him to my university, to my school.
Thanks, Jim. Always a pleasure watching your work. Jim?
All right, back at ringside with Bernard Hopkins. You said before the fight, he needed a devastating knockout performance for you to proclaim him #1 pound for pound in boxing. Was that?
He does. I mean, you know, he does. He
does. #1 pound for pound in boxing. But
he does have a point. You know, Orlando Salido was too big of a fight for him at that point in time in his career. But if you look at his resume, now remember, this is his 8th win, right? 8 wins, you know, and basically Jason Sosa, former champion, Nicholas Walters, you can count him, biggest win of his career, in my opinion, over Gary Russell. You got Roman Rocky Martinez, you know, Orlando Salido. So basically you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meaningful fights out of 8 bouts. Now, the issue is nobody at the division really wants to fight him. For example, I would love to see him versus Gervonta Davis. But Floyd Mayweather, come on, is not going to let him near Gervonta Davis. I would love to see him against Miguel Berchelt versus Takashi Miura. But what of that issue with Golden Boy and Top Rank doing fights together? By the way, we haven't seen Bob Arum all week. Kind of weird because you had the Crawford Diaz press conference, and then you had this whole fight week stuff, and he was nowhere to be found. So let's hope this is just one of those vacations that he takes, because he is, you know, like he's senior. He's like 100 years old. I'm just joking around. He's like 84, 85. But let's just hope this is him taking time off and nothing serious is wrong. But you have to think, looking at the division, you know, the #1 guys there, you know, you got Lomachenko, you know, you got Miguel Berchelt, who beat Francisco Vargas, and I actually like, dude, I would really love to see that fight, but Miguel Berchelt is fighting Takashi Miura. So the winner of, or supposed to be fighting Takashi Miura, and when is that fight supposed to happen again? There's no date for it yet, but it's supposed to happen. The winner of that fight, I would love to see fight Vasyl Lomachenko, but what's next for Vasyl Lomachenko? Now let's go look at his mandatory. He's the WBO champion at 130 pounds. His mandatory is Orlando Salido. His mandatory is Orlando Salido. Let me tell you, those WBO rankings at 130 are slim, and he's in a point in time right now where, even though we've seen him against Nicholas Walters, even though this fight should have been a unification of some sorts, you know, he needs to be in the big fight. When it comes to that 130-pound division, if he's not getting any champions, then there's really no big fights for him. Now, of course, fans will love to see him fight Gervonta Davis. But as I said, Floyd Mayweather won't let him near Gervonta Davis. That would be an awesome fight. By the way, Gervonta Davis is fighting Liam Walsh. You know, you got Jezreel Corrales. That's a big fight because Corrales is the only WBA champion now that Jason Sosa dropped his belt. So that would be a unification. And then, as I said, Miguel Berchelt, who's the WBC champion. But if he can't get none of those champions, you know, then he's right. You know, go to 135 and see if you can get a Terry Flanagan. You know, see if you can leapfrog, you know, Orlando Salido, Felix Verdejo to get a Terry Flanagan. Maybe go over to the UK, get some of that UK money, because the UK will gladly take Vasyl Lomachenko over there. You know, you got Robert Easter at 135. The only way that would happen is if it's ordered. Bob Arum is not going to let his, Al Heyman is not going to let Robert Easter against Vasyl Lomachenko. And I understand what you want to say. Oh, but that's Adrian Broner. No, yeah, it is, but no, it's not. It's Al Heyman. You got Jorge Linares. That's another situation where what's going on with Golden Boy and Bob Arum, even though Linares is co-promoted by Zanfer Promotions, if I'm correct, and they do work with Bob Arum, or Top Rank, but it's still a weird promotional situation. And what about Mikey Garcia? I would love to see that fight, but can Richard Schaefer and Bob Arum bury the hatchet. We've seen that Al Heyman and Richard Schaefer have Al Heyman and Bob Arum have buried the hatchet via that, non-disclosed, disclosure agreement, or confidentiality agreement, lawsuit settlement, that happened, several months back. So it all depends on who Mikey Garcia is with, but I want to see that fight. But as far as fights at 130 or 135 pounds, there's really no real big fights for him unless somebody moves up from 126 pounds to fight him at 130. And come on, you got Gary Russell saying he wants to fight Lomachenko again, but does he really? And he's fighting Oscar Escandón on May the 20th, in that same arena, correct? In that same arena. By the way, beautiful venue. I wasn't there, but I'm talking about just looking at it, the fact that they were able to, this was smart promotion of this fight. They had 3 Ukrainian fighters headlining, right? You had Lomachenko with the headliner, Alexander Grostik is the co-feature, and then Alexander Usyk as the opening bout. So it's a brand new arena, brand new, casino and resort. And basically, from my understanding, the Ukrainian population in Maryland, I didn't even know, in D.C. or the Maryland area, I didn't even know there was really one. And plus, since it's a casino, brand new venue with these 3 big names who have real big star power over in Ukraine, they flew over. So, you would think, well, why is Lomachenko fighting in, Maryland? But it worked. It looked like, I don't know what the attendance was, but it was a lot of people there. It worked. And also I was here and I have a friend there, shout out to Zion. And you can see there was a lot of traffic. He was hearing about people saying, over social media or talking about or social media-ing, that like, yo, this event is going to be lit. So, it was real smart how they did that, also being on the HBO telecast. But we'll talk about more of that in my live stream. That's going to be the next video after this when it's uploaded. Tissue Controversy. This is Tissue Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. So, I really want to see that Mikey Garcia fight. But first, Mikey Garcia's got to fight Jorge Linares. And if he doesn't fight Jorge Linares, it's up in the air. It's up in the air. But if he does go to 130, 135, I don't think he'll be able to fight Terry Flanagan, who's the WBO champion at 135. Remember, Lomachenko's WBO at 130. So, I just don't know, guys. But we'll see. I'm Tissue Controversy. This is Tissue Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. All the links to my social media right down below in the description box. Please subscribe.